Hey guys, I'm going to give a quick lesson about how to count atoms in a molecular compound, which is to say if you have something like sodium chloride, which is table salt, it can be a little trickier to count the number of sodium and chlorine atoms in that than it would be if you just had an element. So this is a quick lesson on how we count elements in, or how we count atoms in elements or compounds. All right. This should help you with your upcoming homework. And there are a few steps that are really easy to follow as long as you know what you're looking for. So here we have hydrogen and sulfur that have been bonded together into a single compound. All right. Now all elements start with a capital letter. So this is hydrogen, this is sulfur. I know that because they're both capital. And the first thing you want to look for in this compound is something called a subscript. And remember, sub means below and script is about writing. So it's like this writing down below. This 2 is a subscript. It only applies to the element it comes after. So in this case, it's H2S. So there are 2 hydrogen. If there's no subscript, if there's no number down here, then you can assume there's 1 of that atom. So this is 2 hydrogen and 1 sulfur atom, right? So I'd have 3 atoms total. The next thing you need to look for is something called a coefficient. Coefficients are going to be these big numbers that go in front of the whole compound, okay? So whatever you have here, you multiply out by every single other element in the compound. So what I would do is I'd say 2 times hydrogen 2, I'd have to multiply this coefficient by the subscript. So I had 2 hydrogen already in every molecule, and I have 2 of these molecules. So 2 times 2 would give me 4 total hydrogen. And then again, remember with the sulfur, I'm assuming there's just 1 here since I don't see a subscript. So I'd multiply 2 times 1, and I'd get 2 total sulfurs. All right, so again, anytime there isn't a subscript behind an element, there's only 1 atom of that. And then the next thing you might see is parentheses. All right, so if we have here 3 different types of elements. We have barium, which is Ba. It's only 1 because I only see 1 capital letter and the A is lowercase. We have oxygen and we have hydrogen. Okay. Now, when you see parentheses, it means whatever you're multiplying by, just like in math, you're multiplying out everything inside these parentheses. So it looks like I have no subscript after barium, so I only have 1 atom of barium. However, oxygen and hydrogen are both in these parentheses, and the parentheses are followed by a subscript of 2. So I would have to say 2 times oxygen would give me 2 total, and 2 times hydrogen would give me 2 total. So I have 1 barium, 2 oxygen, 2 hydrogen for a total of 5 different atoms in this molecule. All right. So some practice scenarios here. Mg is the symbol for magnesium and Cl is the symbol for chlorine. And you can see there's no subscript after magnesium, so I must have 1 of those. And there is a subscript of 2 after chlorine, so there must be 2 atoms of chlorine. You go down here, it's similar, except we have 2 separate subscripts. Al is the symbol for aluminum, S is the symbol for sulfur. So this 2 only applies to the aluminum that it comes after. The 3 only applies to the sulfur that it comes after. So we have 2 aluminum, 3 sulfur. From here it gets a little more complicated because you might have to do some multiplying. Okay, so same thing. Hydrogen, subscript of 2. Sulfur, no subscript, so there's only 1. And the oxygen has a subscript of 4, so there are 4 atoms of oxygen. CH3OH, 1 carbon. And you have 3 hydrogen here, but then you have this OH molecule. So you'd count this 1 oxygen, but you'd have to add this 1 hydrogen to these 3 for a total of 4 hydrogen. So 1 carbon, 4 hydrogen, and 1 oxygen. Here we get to multiplying. All right, so calcium is by itself here. It's got a subscript of 3. We can assume that we just have 3 calcium atoms and bring those down. But with the phosphorus and the oxygen, we have a subscript for oxygen only, but then both of these are together in the parentheses, so we're going to multiply them both by this 2. So we only have one phosphorus inside of here. We'd multiply that times 2. 2 times phosphorus gives us 2. However, we have 4 oxygen in the parentheses, and we're also going to multiply that by 2. So 2 times 4 gives us 8. All right. Very similar. Aluminum's by itself. It's not in the parentheses. It has a subscript of 2. Carry that down. Sulfur has no subscript, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply everything in these parentheses by 3. So 3 times 1 sulfur gives us 3. And 3 times 4 oxygen gives us 12. All right, and finally, kind of the most complex scenario you'd find is this. You have subscripts, you have coefficients, and you have parentheses. Okay, so let's start here at the beginning. Anything you get, you're going to have to multiply by 2. Okay, so you do everything you did before, but then multiply it by this coefficient of 2. So calcium's by itself. I have 3 of them, but I have to multiply calcium by 2, so I get a total of 6. There's only one phosphorus here. There's no coefficient, but I have to multiply it by this 2 subscript here. So I have 2 phosphorus, but then I have to multiply that by 2 again because of the coefficient, which gives me a total of 4. Oxygen has a subscript of 4, multiplied by this 2 out here gives me 8, and then I have to multiply that whole thing by 2 again, and I get a total of 16. So most of this process is just about being very slow and methodical and following the steps, otherwise it's easy to get confused. But we're going to do some practice worksheets, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, guys.